everybody. Let's see if we go live. Yes, we are live. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all. Let me see. There's Mel. There is Dennis. And there is Geert. Hello. I saw Sarah as well. Yes. Good to see you all. Let me check if D-Live is working. Also working. Perfect. So today we are with Oksana. I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name because can you actually try and pronounce it?
I can pronounce it's Molodyakova.
Molodyakova. Oh, well, that was easy.
That's pretty good.
She was born and raised in Russia, and she immigrated to the US almost 20 years ago. And she has lived in San Francisco Bay Area since then, working in the high-tech industry. And as a seeker and inner wisdom and truth, she left the corporate world in the spring of 2021 to offer the gifts and services and wisdom she has acquired through years of spiritual study. She is committed to co-creating and a greater community, open and ready to evolve into a new understanding of consciousness. And Oksana is an initiate of the Modern Mystery School, which is very interesting, a Kabbalist, which we will be talking about as well, and an avid student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, whom I admire as well, and co-facilitating coherence healing sessions for the community. So that's very exciting. And let me see, I need to get my note here gone because there we go. And hey, Dennis, good to see you too. And yeah, I cut my hair as you all have. Well, I told everybody, but nobody has seen it. Anyway, it's not very special. It's just shorter, and I kind of like it because I was fed up with the long hair. So good to see you, Oksana. Good to have you here. And I'm very happy. We actually met through a mutual friend, and I'm very happy that I have met you because we have so many things in common. And today we're going to be having a conversation a bit about things like dark to light, about several things, right? So can you start talking a bit about your background, the spiritual background that you've been working with?
Yeah, thank you, Patricia, for inviting me. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to talk to you and to your community. Excited about our conversation.
Yes.
From my background, as you mentioned, I was raised and born and raised in Russia. I moved to US a pretty long time ago. And my given the fact that I was born in Russia, at that time, religion was pretty much prohibited and not really spoken about. So I was never raised religious or having any kind of conversations about spirituality and things like that. It was very left brain oriented, finance background, always focused on material world.
Right.
Coming here to US, I came here pretty much by myself, no family. And there was a moment in my life later on that kind of, they call it a dark night of the soul. Yes. And in that moment, I started to question the material world the way I know it, the way my left brain and analytical mind could comprehend. And I started to notice that, started to question the reality, and then was thinking, is there something else? You know,
right.
There must be something else because the way things are going just does not make sense. Even my analytical mind was saying, this does not make sense. So I started to, through a series of synchronicities and people coming to my life, I started to turn into more of a quantum physics. First started very slow on the spiritual path because my mind wanted to hear a more solid explanation, what else is out there. So quantum physics, books by Lynn McTaggart. She's an investigative researcher. She wrote an amazing book that turned me really into the world of spirituality called The Field. And then slowly and surely, as I start digging into the world of spirituality, it kind of pulled me deeper and deeper, like a magnet, And at certain point in time, I started meditating, even though in the beginning it was a little scary concept. What if I close my eyes and I start seeing something? I was kind of intimidated by the process, but slowly and surely tried to started trying, and pretty quick I started to feel a lot calmer when I go into this dark, quiet space, and would start hearing certain guidance and the reassurance that I'm okay, things are okay for me. So, and more lately, as I go through this journey of going deep into the spirituality, I got involved with Modern Mystery School, which is a very interesting school going back 3,000 years lineage with King Solomon. And I'm an avid student of Dr. Joe Dispenza, and very highly respecting his work.
Yes, me too. I love it. And I started as well with the quantum physics and, understanding first the science part of it, although, science these days is a bit relative. And, but, you do, especially within the quantum physics, you learn a lot about, that you can back up with the spiritual things that actually start where you start going through, and I love that. So then, can you tell a bit about the mystery school? How what you learn there, and what that it's about?
Yeah, well, Modern Mystery School is one of the 7 mystery schools that exist in the world. It is an international school. It was traditionally, mystery schools are closed to public and they accept students by invitation only. Modern Mystery School was founded in 1998, where Dalai Lama gave the permission to the founder Gudni, to open the school that's open for public. And his comments were, "Time of no secrets has arrived." Yes. So it was basically an indication that the population, the humanity is ready to absorb the traditional knowledge that were hidden away from a general population for millennia. And now our consciousness was prepared to learn ancient techniques that people used, mystery school students used for a long time.
Yeah, I understood that these schools were first where all these elites go to and learn their magic, and but it's really great that it's now open to the public. So then what kind of because there are many teachings in there, right? So can you name some of the teachings that they actually cover over there and that you get to learn about?
Yeah, so the main path to go into the mystery school is to get your life activation. And what life activation means is basically there is a specific technique, a protocol that a practitioner follows to activate personal DNA. And they use special techniques and tools to activate the DNA. We know from the science that only about 3% of our DNA is accessible consciously to us. So we are essentially not using the full potential of our DNA as an average person. So with life activation,
like the brain.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yeah. The conscious mind is, we are operating in the conscious, maybe between 5 and 15% of during.
So then how do you use the brain? The DNA.
How do we use? So once the DNA is activated, DNA has the key to our true self, to our true gifts that we come here to bring to the world. And if the DNA is not activated, if we consciously did not activate all the potential that we came here, we often go around and don't really know who we are, what our mission here, what our gifts, and kind of question what. And some people question, some people are okay. They're just okay to accept the daily routine and go through the motion of life.
So then what you say is that the DNA is actually part of waking up, of learning to be who you are.
Yeah, exactly. It's very well put. It is part of waking up, activating your DNA potential. So with Mystery School, the person would normally get the DNA activation and then would get initiated into the lineage. And when the person is initiated to the lineage, the guide would give out certain rituals, prayers, and different rituals and prayers that the person would practice daily, and that would help to program you to a new way of looking at life and behaving in life, becoming more conscious, calling on the higher mind, the higher realms for you to go through the day and offer your gifts and also reprogram yourself. It's a part of, we know that we get programmed so easily, and part of our mission here is to reprogram us to a better human being.
Exactly. So I see also, because these days there's all these numbers that apparently the Kabbalah uses, and also certain symbols and all that. But in reality, these symbols it's not like they're bad. It's just that they have used them sort of actually with the knowledge that they already had, but we didn't. And so many people tend to say, okay, everything is from Satan. Well, it's actually not true, because many of these things are based on from spirituality, but obviously we have made to believe that it's all evil, but it's not. Just like you study the Kabbalah, which is another thing that many people say, oh, that's evil and all that. So I just want to put that out there, that there are things that we have learned now to see as Satanism, but in reality, that's not true. So can you explain a bit about what the Kabbalah, for example, is that you study?
Right.
So in order also in order to debunk, the idea that everybody is like, oh my God, that's all evil. Actually, thank you, Geert. Pentagram is a golden ratio, which is right, but they apparently use that for evil stuff, but you can use everything for evil. Again, the light, dark, right? For good and for evil. So can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. Very good point about the symbols and patterns. So Kabbalah program that I'm studying, it's also part of the Mystery School. Of course, other people and systems offer the teachings of Kabbalah, as well as modern Mystery School. Kabbalah is essentially tool that you could use for your own growth and self-development. Some people say it's a map of your soul development. We come here into the body and we have a soul, and when we leave this body, the soul continues the progression. So in a way, it's important to invest our time here in the physical world to grow our soul potential and grow and develop and expand the light that we are. So Kabbalah is, it's a map in the form of what they call a tree of life. And the tree of life is, in a way, I'm going to just quickly show for your listeners in case they didn't see. I have a little box here, and this is the tree of life. This 10 spheres. They are mapped. You can map the 10 spheres to a physical body in a way, in the form of chakra or energy centers, like Dr. Joe calls them. So we have most people heard about chakras or energy centers, but the tree of life is expanded out in certain direction to give a little bit more detail on this. This would be a throat chakra right here, and they parse it out into two parts because there are aspects. We can go further into that, but I want to finish on the symbols and geometrical patterns. So as you can see here in the background, there is a flower of life. And flower of life, it's believed that it's a geometrical pattern that describes this world existence. So in terms of the symbol being a satanic symbol, I would definitely disagree with that statement.
I think everything can be used for dark and for light, it's and it's always been there because it's always two sides of one coin. And so it's all about your intention and about your choices that you make. So at the end of the day, whatever, even if they say the 666, which is, number of the devil, but in reality, it's actually not. Right. And so I've been learning a lot about that lately as I've been watching Matthias De Stefano, which you turned out to watch as well. And he covers a lot of this stuff as well, because there's a tree of life, there's a seed of life, there's the seed of life, the fruit of life, and the flower of life. And I love how he explains all that, which obviously is a whole different discussion. But, all these things were used by them as well. And we were all led to believe it's all evil, but in reality, it's actually not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All these the numbers as well, right? The numerology. And so, we need to start learning that not everything is evil, depending how we look at it.
Yeah, so the way things manifest into this 3D reality is by two components. It's your attention and your intention. Yes. Attention is essentially your energy. It's energy in the present now moment. And intention is the direction of that energy. So you could have, just like you mentioned, this symbol or the number, let's say 666, and you bring it into your present moment just by thinking about it, right? And then, so that's one aspect. And when you add the intention, depending on what your intention is, that dictates how it manifests in the physical world.
Exactly, because it's all been based on teaching us to fear, right? And so if we believe that it's evil, then we're going to put the intention of fear in it. And so, that will manifest itself in fear as well. And so I would actually suggest that we all take back whatever, they have been using for the worst. And we cannot, say that many times people may make videos and they talk about things like that. And then some people are like, oh my God, these people are from Satan and all that. And which is obviously nonsense, and this is when we need to start learning discernment. We need to start learning to actually feel with our intuition whether something is right or is wrong, and stop looking on the outside by other people that tell us, is this good? Is this not good? This is right. What it's all about. And actually, let me just say hi to a few people. Good to see you, Dognuk, and Dennis, and Warrior of Light. Good to see you all, and Michael, Scott, and everybody in D Live as well. Thank you for coming. So, continue.
Yeah, I just want to mention on this dark and evil, or good and bad, or negative emotions and positive emotions, right? So when we think of emotions, or events, even as violent event or a fearful emotion or some sad emotion, you could, when human beings like to categorize and structure things. So we could categorize them into bad or evil, but I love how Dr. Joe says it's evil is not an how is he saying? Evil is not the absence of light. It is a separation from light.
Exactly.
It's not the opposite of love. It's the separation from love. And essentially, when we think of the quantum physics, we know that everything around us is energy, just vibrating at a different rate. And when we look at our emotions, they also vibrate. Different range of emotions vibrate on a different scale. You can measure it with different tools in quantum physics. You can also see it through your brainwave scan. When the person is feeling sad, their brain waves are slower than the feeling happy or joyful or euphoric. The brain waves of feeling ecstasy is extremely fast brainwave. So essentially, we in the quantum physics world, in the world of emotions, it's just a slowing down or accelerating vibration, and that's it. I like to think of the dark and light in a way, kind of like analogy of an ocean. When you think of an ocean, and when the light hits, the sunlight hits the water, the very first layer of water, it has a lot of light. You can still see a lot of things that under the first layer of the water. And then the deeper you go, the harder it is to see, because less light penetrates the water, right? And it can go, if you go all the way down to the bottom of the ocean, it's practically almost no light, but it doesn't mean there's complete darkness. There's still a little bit tiny light coming through, but it's just so far away from the source of light that it feels like it's darkness, right? And so the same way it happens here.
We should also take in consideration that, we can say, oh, everything should be light and light and light. No, because if we do not know what dark is, then we cannot know what light is. And at the same time, we need to learn how to, embrace the dark as well, in a way that obviously not becoming it, but rather getting to know it in order to defeat it instead of fighting it. Instead of fighting it, you work with it in order to turn things around. And it's so beautiful how you now these days, I actually posted a video of that on my channel the other day, where somebody said, okay, these masks, they are, really dark and all that. But at the same time, for example, kids, they learn how to look in people's eyes again, because the face is covered, so all there is the eyes, and you learn to look in people's eyes again. Mm-hmm. And so there's always a good side to the bad, and I love how dark and light needs to be balanced in order to be content and happy as well, because if one or the other is out of balance, you cannot be completely in the happiness and light and this, because it's gonna fall sooner or later. So you need to constantly be balancing the two. Doesn't mean obviously that you should be in the dark and be evil, but rather know it and and getting to work with it in order to turn it around to the light. And so it's very interesting how I learned this recently, because everybody tends to say, oh, it's all light and love. No, it's not. There is both, and we need to go through this dark night of the soul in order to learn. We need the dark in order to learn and to grow. Without that, we are stagnant.
Right. I completely agree with you. We can't see light without darkness. If it's just light, we would not know that it is light, right?
Exactly.
If it's just light, we wouldn't know that it's just light, right?
Yeah.
So we have to have a contrast. We come here to learn what light is, but in order to learn light, we need to see darkness. And then the work really is to identify this darkness, or this negative emotion, this negative situation, or this negative situation that invokes a negative emotion. You become aware and you transmute it by acknowledging it, allowing it,
Exactly.
and accepting it and appreciating it.
Yes.
So we call it 4 A's in a leadership course that I took a few years ago. This is the 4 A's, and the way to transmute from these negative emotions to actually we can call it shed the light and love it into love.
Yes.
Right? You could, and I haven't really tested it, I guess, maybe I have, where you could become conscious. I'm angry, right? So just identifying that I'm angry is it's a good first step. But in order to transmute it, you have to allow the anger in and understand the gifts of it. What is this anger showing to you? What is the gift of this particular emotion? And once you understand the gift of it, you can say thank you, and then it loses the grip on you.
Yes, because I totally agree. And I learned that this year so much. It's also about observing it instead of becoming it, right? So, I mean, we cannot deny that there are negative emotions, negative situations that we get into. The question is how you're going to deal with it, right? So we can either, grab onto it and drown in it and just become these emotions that are so negative, which then actually nice segue into the whole victimhood mindset, right? And there are so many people, and I myself included, while I was there, when I didn't even realize in all these different layers of victimhood there are, that we do not even realize that we, are in that. And, it's very hard to, when you see people being in there, to try and tell them without getting them pissed off, because I remember I got really pissed off when somebody told me, well, obviously when I got a folder because I needed to learn from it in a therapy, but then I did it and I was like, oh my God, I did not know it was this bad. And it turned my whole life around. And so now I'm always very alert and seeing, am I still in that victimhood mindset? Because, there's so many layers to it. And it's so tricky not to get drowned in that. Because, and it's rather all about taking responsibility for whatever is happening to you, right? So what do you have to say about that, actually?
Yeah, I totally agree that the victim mindset or victimhood is so deeply programmed into us. It goes into generations of our ancestors, and it goes into some of the events that come as part of us growing up. And goes into our subconscious. And once it's in your subconscious, that becomes a program in your body, in your mind, and then it starts running you. The gift of an emotional reaction on a certain situation or another person, once you know how to look at it, how to assess it, it's actually showing you what it is in you that you have to heal. So some people go into this mindset, I don't know, the weather is, it's raining, I'm not going to join the party because it's too raining, I'm going to miss out and I'm going to sit at home and be sad, right? And then once you catch that, so it's basically an attitude, things are happening to me.
Yes.
Things that outside of me, in my outside environment, happening to me, And this sense of poor me.
Yes.
So that's the victim mindset. And like you said, it's layers and layers and layers of it. It can go to a very really obvious case of a victim mindset to everybody around that person, but not to that person, or to a very light case. So, and like I mentioned, the way for me, I learned that, I'm still in the victim mindset, is that to check, did I react to this person or to this situation in a way that they took power from me to change the way how I feel inside in my center. So when you're in a victim mindset, you give your power away.
Yeah.
And when you give your power away, you give your energy away. And then, you feel tired and sad and
and you stick longer in that situation as well, because you gave the power away, and now you're like, why am I keep getting angry? Why am I getting frustrated? Why am I keep getting like this and that? Well, because you search for the answer in the wrong place. You searched for the answer outside of yourself. Well, in essence, it's within you. It's within you that you can actually change it. It's all a matter of choice, really.
Exactly. Yeah. And I totally agree. You said it really well. And this is where I find Dr. Joe Dispenza work extremely valuable, because once you become aware that, I am reactive to this person, sometimes it's not easy to find out what is it in me that triggers me, because it could be things from your early childhood, or it could be things from your ancestors that you inherited and you're not even aware, right? And it could go far into the ancestry line. So sometimes it's not easy to identify the source of this reaction. So the work of Dr. Joe, he's saying that, okay, this is my emotion. I'm angry at this particular person. You can even name what triggers you about this particular person. And then knowing that every emotion is a frequency in the quantum field, through a meditative experience, there are guided meditations you can check out. Dr. Joe, he's saying, okay, so this is your frequency of this anger emotion.
Yes.
So you're now aware of it. Now let's turn around and find a frequency of an elevated emotion, because that's much higher frequency. An elevated emotion, the most go-to emotion is gratitude. And
this is why you have the
happiness.
This is why the Ho'oponopono works so well as well from Hawaii, where they, you do. And in the beginning, I didn't understand, because I'm like, yeah, but I'm angry. So then why you say, I love you, I'm sorry, I forgive, please forgive me. And
thank you.
Thank you. And but then I started to understand it. It's not, it's about the situation. It's not about, the personal, because sometimes it's very hard when you're angry at somebody and, to let go of it. But the whole reason that you need to let go of it is because you gave it power in the first place. And it's all about, getting your power back. And so that's what the gratitude is about, and the forgiveness as well. But it's a very complex concept, because, we always learned to take it so personal, right?
Yeah. It is a difficult concept, but once you learn the formula of it and start practicing, it really becomes a new habit. And it becomes easier and easier to transcend that emotion, let it go, and tune into a higher frequency with your radio receiver right here in your head. You tune into a higher frequency of a more elevated emotion, and then you feel lighter. The trick is to sustain that elevated emotion when you stop your meditation and go around your day. But the formula is to become aware, become conscious of,
Yes.
oh, I reacted again. And then as you practice more and more, you start catching those reactive elements much faster. The gap between your reaction and you becoming aware of that reaction shortens and shortens until you come to a moment that you actually can take a choice in the moment.
Yes. And so recently I've been like learning about, well, there's something that I cannot stand. It's animal abuse. I was watching it, was binge watching the Dodo, where you see a lot of animals that are abused. There's always the happy ending at the end. But I was always stuck with the abuse, even though you see the animal being rescued and actually moving on. And then I realized, hang on, animals, they live literally in the now. And when they get past the trauma, they literally forget whatever has happened and they trust again and they move on again. In that sense, they are, much better than humans, because it takes us a lot longer because of the complex emotions and everything that we have. And this is where we can learn from them. So I was watching it and I kept getting angry and angry. Until a certain point, I thought, hang on, let me just watch the animal. And I see this animal transforming from, completely almost near to death because of abuse. And then slowly seeing it transforming. And I was like, wait a minute, then why am I still so angry if the animal is not? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, okay, how can I transmute this the way the animal does? Because after all, it's the animal that went through it, not me. It's just that me, with my judgment, right? I am there getting all frustrated about it. I want to do God knows what to the person that mistreated this animal, although you never get to see the person, but it's all within, right? I make it this big bomb and war within me. And so once I started watching the animal, and I'm like, hang on, so he's actually over it. So then I should too. So then why am I not? Mm-hmm. And because I hold on to that anger, I hold on to that frustration, but clearly the animal is not. So, maybe there's something to learn here. And that's exactly what I did. So the more I watched it, the more I started to look from a different perspective. I just shifted it a bit. Instead of now look at the animal being abused and anger and this and that. No, I just started looking at the animal itself. And I'm like, oh, look at that. And it gave me hope, because I knew obviously they always go to a happy ending. And so now I decided to actually observe it from the point where the animal is slowly doing this transformation, and see how this animal is slowly, bit by bit, getting back to normal. And I thought, wow, that's so amazing, right? And so suddenly my frustration started to dissipate while watching it. And so that way I conquered kind of a bit of the thing that I couldn't get over it. Now, whether that's an old ancestor thing or something in the past really doesn't matter, because what mattered to me was that I was able to look at it from a different perspective in order to let go of this constant frustration when I look at it, instead of then at the end looking at the happy ending. No, I was still mad, right? And so it was all a matter of shifting your perspective.
It's such a beautiful realization, and I appreciate you sharing, because animals, like you said, they don't hold on to the past event as long as we do. So they, in a way, they are our teachers. And also
they're always in the now, in the present moment. And that's actually what we need to learn again. And so this is why we observe animals. Just like I was sharing like the other week about the Matthias and Stefano said, the 5D, actually, they observe us in order to learn what they are going through. And I thought, well, that makes total sense that we do the same with animals, because, we're all students and teachers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. That gave me goosebumps. Wow. That's pretty good. I like it. I also wanted to add that emotions, which we know is energy in motion, energy carries information. And so when we experience an emotion in our body, and each emotion carries an information. So it's important to read that emotion in your body, to understand what information it gives you. So, for example, animal is being abused, I'm getting triggered, I'm angry. Anger is a very, very powerful emotion, and it carries an information of take action.
Yes.
And it's important to discern. Also, we talked a little bit about discernment. It's important to discern, can I take action that influences in a positive way the situation, or will I just sit around and kind of like throw my fists in the air and just be angry at the at the screen of the computer or TV, right? So the latter one is not really healthy way of expressing your emotion. But if there is something, if there is an action you can take to influence the situation, go for it. If there is an anger or an emotion that it invokes in you, but you can't really do anything about it, then it's probably to look a little bit inward, right? Inside yourself, and then defile it.
Well, it's that we tend to, when we have negative emotions, we tend to walk away from them. We want to turn them around and go find something that we actually feel better again. But I now learned that looking at that negative emotion makes me kind of start analyzing it. Like, okay, what is it that I really feel? And why, what is the element in whatever situation it is that makes me so angry, and then by observing that negative emotion, you can turn it around much easier than ignoring the negative emotion and just try desperately to find something positive. Right? Because that's like sweeping it under the rug. It's like you have to acknowledge it is there in the first place. And I think that is 50% of your solution when you start actually, acknowledging it first, it's there. But it's, we tend to be scary of negative emotions as well, right? Whether it's anger, fear, grief, especially with grief, I've noticed that. And I tended to want to walk away from it, forget about it. But I learned that it comes back like a boomerang if you do that. So you need to learn about, and that's again, learning from that dark side and observing it. And what is it doing? How can I turn it around? By first analyzing whatever, the negative is.
Right. Yeah. Become aware and then look at it. Yeah. And I agree with you. Actually, when we deny, reject the negative emotion, put it under the rug, it actually does not help us at all to solve it. It just stays there and slowly sucks away our energy from our energy field. And so it kind of drains us. In the leadership training I took a few years ago, we call it a leaky bucket. If you imagine your energetic body as a bucket filled with energy, and you have these leaks throughout your bucket of that emotion swept away as under the rug, that emotion is in dark corner of your closet, etc., and it leaks away the energy from your energy bucket. And depending on the amount of rejected and denied emotions you have, that leakage can be really big or lesser, right? So, and it would explain to a certain degree to a person, why am I feeling so tired at the end of the day, or by lunch, and I need a little, like a cup of coffee to boost myself, right? And it could be, the reason could be that, you spend first half of the day to turn the other way from the emotions you're actually supposed to look at and reclaim the energy back.
Yeah, because it leaks out from your body, and so you lose energy. Therefore, you get tired and exhausted. And lately, I've seen this a lot around me, including myself, and I didn't know what it was. And what I did as well was really walking away hard from whatever was going on, although I didn't think I was doing that, but I did nonetheless. And then, and especially now, it almost feels like we are accelerating in our lessons. So they come one after the other, once you tackled one, boom, another one is already sitting there to wait for you. And now I guess there is kind of, an urgency in our healing process. But I learned then that the more I'm actually working on it, the faster it goes. So, I'm not that scared anymore for the things that are coming up, because it almost becomes a routine now to tackle one after the other. And, I see it all around me, people struggling, but I guess that's exactly why it's happening. It's because we learn faster when we have them all one after the other, rather.
Right. Yeah. Well, you brought an interesting topic, and I'm kind of tempted to bring it up a little bit further. It's a little bit more metaphysical concept, and I don't know your audience, but because I'm a guest here. Hopefully, if it doesn't resonate with your audience, they will forgive me. But there is a certain population on the planet now is thinking that we are going through an ascension process as a planet and all the inhabitants. And ascension essentially means an upgrade or more light frequency hitting the planet. And if we have more light coming into the planet, light is higher frequency, right? And so in a way, we all are exposed to a higher frequency, and higher frequency makes things come a lot faster, right?
Yes.
So, and if you're a person who are kind of like in this denial mode still, it's a little harder to adjust to this new way of living and a new frequency. Some people have really hard time, but if you're really working through your issues, your emotions, your ancestries, etc., and especially if you get into this habitual formula, you know how to transcend that, the processing becomes also faster because the frequency is much faster, the more light here available for you to access and help you in that process.
I didn't even think of that, because, that's what it is. The ascension is more light is coming onto the planet, which also means anything that's of darkness still within you is coming to the surface, because, it needs to get purged. And so in order for it to be purged, it needs to come up first. You need to go through it and you need to deal with it. And this is exactly what is happening, right? Mm-hmm. And we're all lamenting like, oh my God, it's so heavy. It's so, we're struggling through it, but this is exactly the reason why. And once you understand that this is exactly happening, you cannot turn away from it, because it's getting only more and more until that certain point that you actually went through all of them. And then there's nothing anymore but to shine your light, right?
Yeah, it is a gift in a way. If you turn your attitude around again, like right, we were talking about victim mindset and the creator mindset, or the curious mindset, the opposite flip of the coin, right?
Yes.
So in the victim mindset, you would say, oh, things are really dense here, and I'm going through so many issues. So it is really hard. It's hard to get out of that zone of victimhood. Yeah. But if you turn it around and find the gift of the situation, and then really look, oh, there is more light being shed on all of these shadows that I have in me as a personality. And it's giving me an opportunity to shed it a lot faster, right? Yes. That's a gift. That's the mindset that is more healthy. It's just,
It is. And also,
self-care.
but that's the evolution to begin with, right? It's so we learn how to, get along with ourselves, really, and in a good way. So Geert is asking, so the more emotions you clear in the morning, the more power you have in the day. I would say yes. And there are many ways to do that, obviously. But it's rather like it doesn't matter every teaching you see and hear about, they all literally covering that, right? If you start your day with these positive mindset, and now, you say the more you clear your emotions in the morning. First of all, in the morning, I don't know if you instantly will feel all these emotions, but what I would rather do is, prevent them in the first place, because you don't know which emotions will come up during the day. So what you can do is, in the morning, you start to set your intentions. You start a meditation where you set these intentions, for example. And so in that way, you can tackle them. And lately, I've been looking into the Qigong and the Shaolin Kung Fu, which I've been always attracted to. And literally, the teaching is there too, the exact same thing. And it's so beautiful. I want to start practicing it now. And in order to get my energy body, but also my mental mindset. So you get two at one. Actually, you get them all. You cover everything at once with that, and also your whole internal body itself. And it's very interesting how that works. But at the end of the day, I think every teaching literally says the same about these things, right?
Yeah, and I would add also, I would refer to Dr. Joe Dispenza and his teachings is that when we wake up, his recommendation, which I agree completely, is instead of turning on your phone and checking your emails and the news and the text messages and all of that, that instantly puts you into different frequency, right?
Yeah.
Instead of that, you take a little bit of time and get into the meditative space. And like you said, first of all, orient yourself to the peaceful and the present moment, and then set your intention for the day. In the mystery school, in addition to that, we do certain rituals, and it's also part of the setting the intention in the way. It's just a little bit different twist to that. And so that's how you would start the day. Now, the trick is how not to fall back from, you start the day on a really high note, you're feeling grateful, you go out and you're stuck in traffic, right? And then somebody cuts you off or whatever else happens, right? So it's that's the trick, not to fall back from this high elevated emotion to anger and frustration, whatever. Another step that I really love what Dr. Joe offers now to his followers, to his students, to anybody who wants to do that is, he calls it a walk-in meditation. Now he's saying, now the next practice to become the master of your life and your emotions is to keep that elevated state with your eyes open. So you become really good at keeping it with your eyes closed in the meditative space, but how do you do it with your eyes open? So he offers walking meditations where you could literally have your headphones on and go for a walk outside, and with your eyes open, you tune in to the guidance that he has and program yourself. It's this installing a new program, right?
Yes,
because
I completely agree with that, because we tend to do, have you done your meditation yet today? But it's like only that moment of meditation is when you're at peace. You should be at peace all day long. And so if you make your whole day kind of a meditation, which you can, it's all about literally being in the now. Be aware of everything you do, be mindful of everything that you do. And I was watching these Qigong videos where there's a lot of teachings within there, right? And so I started doing that breathing exercise, and then I started doing it like while in the kitchen, and I was like, oh my gosh, my breath is completely off. And so It's actually when you are constantly remind yourself during the day of what state am I actually in? How am I breathing? What am I thinking? What is, do I have a right posture of my body? And so when you do that, it becomes a habit and you're pretty much in a complete meditative state all day long. Because that's what the point is. It's that separation from sitting in a meditation only to get out of the meditation. It's almost like, okay, I've done my moment of being in the now, and the rest of the day, it should be good now. But that's not how it works, does it?
Yeah, it's not. It's a very good skill to be present. But in addition to that, what Dr. Joe offers in his walking meditations, he puts you into this hypnotic state. So he hypnotizes your brain. So you kind of like a little out of there, right? And then you open your eyes, and then while maintaining this hypnotic state, you look like a zombie when you walk out. So just, be mindful. People would look at you weird in a way, but who cares, right? So you while being hypnotic, with your eyes open, you walk around, and he reprograms you. Because you're in your subconscious. When you're in hypnotic brainwaves, you're in your delta or theta brainwaves, and
Alpha,
he
actually.
throws alpha. He throws certain words. While you're walking around, right? So that's the reprogramming. That I totally am a big fan of the walking meditations.
Yeah, I love that, actually, that idea. And because is it public actually on YouTube for people to look at it?
Not sure if YouTube has it, but if you go to drjoedispenza.com, he has a number of walking meditations for people.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, definitely going to check it out. So other than that, I wanted to talk about, you used to do Akashic readings, right? From the Akashic records. And you told me you're not doing that anymore for a reason. So can you explain to us why that is?
Right. Yeah. So it's an interesting topic, and it is a point of contemplation to me. But yes, I started Akashic readings for people maybe a couple of years ago or so. And I've done a number of readings for friends and acquaintances, and for some referrals. And as I mentioned, I'm part of the mystery school. And in one of our classes, they mentioned that Akashic record readings for another person besides yourself is not a practice that the mystery school recommends. So they don't go into the details why, but it really triggered my attention because I was practicing that. And I started to contemplate, because, just take it for granted. I like to analyze and make sense of things. So I started to analyze, and I was thinking, why is the mystery school doesn't recommend us to do Akashic records for other person? And the only thing that they added is that when you access Akashic records for another person, in a way you are taking on a piece of their karma onto yourself. So and I was kind of contemplating, and I went along with that. And I think I mentioned to you that I do coherence healing using Dr. Joe Dispenza protocol for the community. And through this last 9-10 months that I was doing it, I noticed that when I tune into the energy field of a certain healee, a healee would be a person who is receiving energetic healing. There are some people that I would tune in and kind of go through the motion, they hold the space, and then create a coherent field, and then change the hologram for that person, and that person physical environment, physical body could change, but there would be certain healings that would invoke a reaction in me. And there are not that many, but I noticed there would be some healings that I would experience extreme sense of sadness, or a memory that would be triggered that feels like my ancestors being tortured, or things like that, and just kind of weird. And I started reflecting on it, and I was thinking, well, we know that everything, well, intellectually, I understand that everything is happening for me as I am the creator of my experience. So all the people and circumstances that come into my experience are happening for me, for my own learning. So if I do a healing on another person and it triggers an emotion of pain and torture that potentially that Healy's ancestral line has, in a way, I invoke that in me. And when I do it once or twice a week, I have time to process it, to kind of let that work to be integrated in me, and then heal with time and heal with attention. But with Akashic records, if I apply the same concept, I'm tuning into Akashic record of a person, and we read some past life events that created certain trauma that carries on through generation and manifests for this person. In a way, I'm tuning into the trauma of that person. And if I do, let's say 2, 3, 4, 5 people a day, every day, for 5 days in a row, I may get overwhelmed with the amount of trauma that I read through the Akashic record. I read through the energy, and the information comes into my consciousness like a snowball, and I don't have enough time to, and maybe even experience, to process it. So in a way, I can overwhelm my system, and
so then you take over their trauma, or is it that your own experience is then triggered that you may have had in the past, or ancestral traumas can be triggered through traumas that somebody else has? And so that means then you've got to heal something within you that you haven't dealt with yet, or even were aware of that it was there.
Yeah, that's what I feel, actually, because we know that we are one in consciousness, mm-hmm. right? As part of the quantum field, as part of consciousness, there is only one of us, even though we appear as individual separate bodies, but it's one of us. So when this trauma is triggered, it is part of me, because me as one of us, right? And essentially that it is this part of my history, but it could be a part of that person's history, but on another realm we are one. And am I ready to face that history, right?
Right.
Is it something that is actively driving my life around, right? Is that person's ancestral pain that shows up for him and for me, but because it shows for him because he came to me, right, with a certain physical situation, but I necessarily didn't feel that. Is that something that I have to work on right now, or can be dealt with later?
But then can you
kind of an open question for me.
Can you then, I got to sneeze. Sorry. So then can you actually shield yourself from that when you do work with other people? Because it's an interesting thing that I was watching a video with Nicole Frolick, who had a guest on. It was The Will of God. I'm sorry, I forgot the name's person, but she said something so interesting. It's not about actually we don't shield, because that would imply boundaries, right? We put boundaries around ourselves, but what you really do is just blast out this light, and so with that you're actually protected, which makes sense. But then, since everybody's talking about protection, and how do you protect yourself from that when you do healings with clients?
Yeah, very good point. And I agree with the person that you had a conversation with, that in a way we exude light from us, and that light is a higher frequency, would be a natural barrier for a lower frequency to enter in. Right?
Yes.
So
Well,
that makes
automatically,
sense.
because you blast out that light. So in per definition, a lower frequency can't come in. So indeed, Geert is saying it is boundaries versus barriers. But you don't need a real barrier if you constantly vibrating higher. Which I would say then, if you have a client and you vibrate higher, because that's what you need to do in order to protect, then that lower frequency can't come in either. So would that keep traumas out as well, is my question.
Yeah, I have a theory on this. I'm definitely not I can't claim that I know it, but my theory is that yes, if your light coming from your heart is so open and tuned into the frequency of love, and your entire energy field is clean from potential blocks and traumas, you've healed everything in you, which I don't know that many people on the planet who did that. Then yes, in theory, this light creates a natural barrier, and nothing can penetrate you. Myself, and I don't know, I can't talk about everybody, of course, but I'm just looking at myself. Even though I've done years of work of healing myself, there are still some elements showing up. There are still situations and people and whatever news could trigger certain things that gives me an indicator that I'm not fully 100% healed from all the trauma. So yes, if you go into the healing and can maintain that light that comes from your heart throughout the entire session or throughout your day, then yeah, potentially you don't need the barrier.
Yeah.
But I know that I drop. And once I drop, that gives an opportunity for lower energy to enter in. And to prevent that situation, we as mystery school students, we have certain tools to create boundaries and protect ourselves, so kind of create a bubble around us that would be a barrier for a lower frequency to enter. So I would use both.
Right, I would do too. Yeah, and I see that Z here is I don't go back to trauma. Simply don't go after you did your inner work. And so I would say, sometimes even if you did your inner work, and I did a lot, but there's always something that apparently coming around the corner still comes up. And I think you noticed that when what we were talking about before with these higher frequencies coming in, they actually expose them. But if you've been through all your traumas and there is nothing anymore, you're completely zen, then lucky you, I would say, because, we all want to arrive at that point eventually. So, but yeah, it's a complex thing, because there are so many things. I thought I did most of my work in the past years, but actually I did a lot of work this year that I did not know I had to deal with. But yeah, I had to still go through it. So this week I passed through something and I figured, hang on, my comfort zone is now throwing me out. There's nothing to go back to. Because I was in a sort of a comfort zone and I felt stagnant. I felt stuck. And then I figured out what it was. And then I figured, but I'm scared to move forward. But at the same time, backward is not an option either, because my comfort zone is not allowing me to get back in, right? And so now I'm finding myself on this threshold where, I have to take that leap. And I'm like, what is holding me back? And sometimes it's just fear of the change itself, which in my case is true. And it's all about matter of choice, making the choice, right? And so, yeah, it's very interesting how there are constantly, new things coming up. And there is Geert here asking a question for you. What mystery school is Oksana following? And is it related to the Drunvalo Melchizedek?
Melchizedek.
Teacher, yeah.
I'm familiar with Drunvalo Melchizedek. No, I'm not in his mystery school, although I have his books and I read it, The Flower of Life, The Secrets of Flower of Life. The mystery school I am following is called Modern Mystery School. And you can check them out, Modern Mystery School, int.com.
Right. Yeah, I checked it out, and it's quite interesting. Actually, they don't have one here in Holland, and you said it. You need to actually go there personally, right, in order to learn.
Yes, mystery school mission is to. Well, I'm going to start with the mission, but then I'll explain a little more. The mission is to bring peace to the world, to bring peace to the planet. And then since we are a spirit, a soul in a physical body, it's important for us to be in the physical world. And especially before COVID, 100% of the healings and the teachings and classes were done in person. Right. Because you're in the energy field of the teacher and an energy field of the student. And as we know, our body exudes an energy field. When the COVID started, they had to shift certain things into the online format, but they have certain tricks into getting into your energy field that even though they're remote, they can tune in. It's not as effective though.
Well, I was wondering about that because in essence, if you are close to a person, you can much easier read into the energy field, right? Well, if you're online, it's like a massive leap all of a sudden going from easy to, 20 levels up and try to actually learn it, which is quite difficult.
It is. It is possible, though. I absolutely believe that. There are things that exists called astral travel. I'll go a little bit more more conventionally accepted. With Dr. Joe Dispenza, when we do coherent healings on people, it's energy work. He started teaching and doing those coherence healing sessions in person before COVID, and had some incredible healing results, miraculous healing, instantaneous healings. But when we went into this new phase of our current life, where things transition online, being at home, etc., we had to transition this coherence healing into Zoom format. And what we noticed that people and healers and healees are able to get into the quantum field. And in the quantum field, everyone is in the quantum field in one space. So if you're good at it, then you can tune into the frequency and energy field of a healee. It's just a matter of practice. When you're in the physical space, it is a lot easier to connect with the energy field of a person because it's literally in your physical space. But it is possible to do it in a remote online format.
Wow, that's awesome. So in closing, do you have something that you want to say to the audience, and also what you currently do as modality healing modality, I mean, and where people can find you?
Yeah, well, let me start with what I'm currently doing. I'm very passionate about the coherence healings that we do as a community of advanced students of Dr. Joe, and I'm part of a group. There are several groups that Dr. Joe has. My group specifically, we are called Co-Heal Team 6, and you can find us online and request a healing. It's all complimentary. And what we do is a group of healers tune into a specific Healy and create a coherence field, coherent energy and coherent field around the Healy, and that helps the person to upgrade themselves. Super passionate about this because we really see this miraculous results, and that inspires just seeing people get better. It's the biggest
I love Joe Dispenza. I have several of his books, and it's he literally combines science with just the practice of spirituality, and it's like the perfect combination, because as human beings we want to understand as well, right? At least if you're a bit left brain, I'm quite left brain, and so it's very important to get these explanations with it, and he does that so good.
So good. I totally agree with you. It's important for us to understand what we're doing, so we can get better at it. So in addition to Dr. Joe, I practice with Mystery School. I do life activations for people, but like I said, it's all in-person sessions.
So you do that on your website, because I have all the links in the description below for people that want to find her.
Yeah, people can find me on social media. I do have a website. It's work in progress still, but people can find me there too. In terms what I would leave the community with, I really want people to take away the concept that we're going through this transition right now as a humanity, and it is a big leap from what we knew ourselves as and what's coming our way. If you go into the metaphysical concepts, we knew that from the Mayan perspective, the 2012 was the end of the world. It actually was the end of the paradigm. And 2021 is the beginning of the new paradigm. So the good news that as we are entering into this new process, things will start lighting up, and we will have a different human being, which is kinder and more compassionate, open-hearted, and more aligned with our true selves. So I'm really grateful that I'm part of this process, and I hope your listeners too can find that gratitude. And if things are challenging, I would not despair, and just find the gift of the situation to transcend that situation into the light. And it's really, the future is bright. And I'm really grateful to be part of this change. And I'm grateful to you to host these beautiful conversations and give people hope and give people information. That's super important. And just wishing all of your listeners, just lots of light and lots of love.
Yeah, I love to have guests that are not commonly known, because everybody has pieces of the puzzle and everybody has something to say. And I like to bring that back within here, because it's so important that we are all heard, and that there's always people that have information that whether they relay it differently, but it's more understandable for somebody else, right? And that's what it's all about. It's all about trying to understand the world and the new world, and trying to understand ourselves. And that's what it's all about. So thank you very much for being here. I'm so grateful for that. As for my streamings, by the way, I want to say it's quality over quantity. So if I do not stream one day, it's because either I don't have anything very important to say, or I just don't have the guest that, I need. And so, I'm not that consistent anymore in being live. I'm also still doing the course of Beyond Quantum Healing. So busy with that. In any case, whether I'm going to be live on Thursday, I don't know yet. But, it's always on the Thursday or the Monday. So check it out if I'm here. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Bajonet, I haven't seen you before. Ninja Warrior, oh, good to see you. Thank you, Z, to see you. Hey, good to see you too there, Ayla Shoku. And yeah, I thank you so much for being here. And definitely going to have each other again. I'm going to have you on again when there's some new things that we have to, share with the public. And we'll see who's up next. And yeah.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate what you offer, and I do agree that we are, each one of us has a piece of a puzzle. Every person matters. Every person matters.
Absolutely.
So it's very important work that you're doing, and giving people opportunity to speak their truth and offer their gifts.
Thank you. And, be kind to yourself and to others, and, learn, grow, and keep on going, everybody. So peace out, all.
Thank you.
Till next time.